Thank you so much for tuning into our presentation about creating a proud transfer legacy at your institution. My name is Hilary Roush Freeman, and I'm the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Programs at the University of Texas at Dallas. And my co-presenter is Hilary Beecham Campbell, the Director of Undergraduate Programs. And we're going to be talking specifically about the Transfer Mentor Program at UT Dallas. So here's a general idea of what we'll be covering. The first is UT Dallas generally, what we are, who we are, and our transfer student experience. The second thing we're going to talk about is our program's history and how we implemented the Transfer Mentor Program. The third thing we're going to cover are the outcomes and challenges from the Transfer Mentor Program and running it for 6 years. And then the fourth part is going to be mentoring in the pandemic. So first, just to touch a little bit on who we are as an institution to understand the context. We are a public institution. The University of Texas at Dallas is actually located just outside of Dallas and in Richardson, Texas. We do have a bit of a unique history because we kind of did things backwards as far as student enrollment goes. So we were initially started as a graduate-only institution. And then we slowly started adding in the undergraduate experience. So we began accepting undergraduate students in 1975, but we only accepted transfer students, so no freshmen until 1990s. So we're in a really interesting and unique situation when it comes to that transfer experience. And the transfer experience is a big part of our institution. We have 21,000 approximately undergraduate students at the University of Texas at Dallas, and about 40% of those are transfer students. So if you are a transfer student at the University of Texas at Dallas, what does your experience look like? So here's a quick snapshot. Our transfer students have a 66% graduation rate. They're about 45% of the undergraduate population. And a big factor is their spring admit. So about 40% of our students enter in the spring and not in the fall, which, in the fall, a lot of institutions, including ours, have weeks of welcome. So we have these opportunities for students to connect on campus, to get to know the resources, to get to know other students. But when you have a large group coming in the spring, they miss a lot of those opportunities to make those initial connections and are kind of left on their own. And we'll talk a little bit about that and about how that has been a challenge for the Transfer Mentor Program and how we're trying to address that. You can see a little bit of the difference between the concerns for incoming transfer students and incoming freshmen. A lot of those same things, like managing time and connecting with peers is a concern, but you can see the difference. The financial situation is something that comes to mind for transfer students, and you can see that reflected as well in their outside obligations. So a lot of students live off campus, of our transfer students live off campus compared to our freshman students living on campus. So about 50% of our freshmen live on campus, less than 10% of our transfers do. Working is a big factor for our transfer students, so balancing that time, managing their time. Transfer students work significantly more hours. A lot of them work full-time and a lot of them work off campus versus our freshman students. So a very different experience. And so when we were looking at the Transfer Mentor Program and the development of this program, that was something we considered was the opportunity and what that needed to look like to fit our transfer students' experience. But the other factor that we looked at were why transfer students left our institution. And so we offer several different surveys throughout the year, but one that we focused on was the non-returning transfer student survey. So this was from students who had transferred to UT Dallas previously but didn't re-enroll a following semester. And what we heard from them was that there was a real lack of connection, a real lack of that sense of belonging that we want our students to have. And so with that, we also did some interviews as well. So we talked to transfer students about their experiences as we were developing this program. And what we found were a lot of the same themes kind of came out in these conversations. So our students who had been at UT Dallas, the students who had been transfer students, talked about a negative stigma they felt associated with being a transfer student and a non-traditional student on campus. They felt lonely. They didn't really feel like part of our comic community, our UT Dallas community. They felt like they were a stranger on campus, alienated. And then some of those, coming back to those resources and those first few weeks where you learn how to do things like looking up classes, finding places on campus, transfer students missed a lot of those opportunities, again, because so many of them come in the spring, but also so many of them have those outside obligations that don't allow them to participate in some of these orientation type of events that we offer. And so looking at what transfer students were wanting when they came to our institution as well was important to make sure that we were not only meeting the needs of the students that we have on our campus, but the ones who were coming in. And we found that a lot of them really wanted that community. They wanted those connections. And so we wanted to develop a program that met those needs. So not only did it associate them or acquaint them with our on-campus resources, but it also allowed them to engage with other students who had similar experiences. And Hilary and I both actually support the Freshman Mentor Program, which had existed for some time before this. It's a larger program that offers a peer mentoring opportunity. And so we took that model and wanted to apply that to transfer students. And so with that, we had our institutional support through our quality enhancement plan, or our QEP. I think pretty much every institution has one of these, and ours specifically focused on new transfer student success. So we wanted to look at that transfer experience and enhance it as much as we could. And so you can see we have a couple of different parts here. The simplify the transfer process and improve transfer student success. This came by way of an orientation enhancement, as well as improved communication with incoming transfer students, the creation of a seminar experience tailored to the needs of new students. We do have freshman seminar courses, and they look to kind of mimic that with the transfer student experience. And then us, so an innovative peer mentoring program that matches transfer students with more advanced transfer student mentors. And so we had this institutional mission, we had this institutional charge to develop this program, and so we did. And so the mission of the Transfer Mentor Program is to cultivate a stronger connection for UT Dallas for incoming transfer students by providing concentrated support that addresses the specific needs and challenges of today's transfer student. So that's our mission statement. And I'm going to play a video. This is actually something that we made for transfer orientation. So this is shown at all of our orientations for our new transfer students, but gives a really good overview of what we do and how we do that. So I'm going to play this.
At UT Dallas, we recognize that you have made one of the most important decisions of your life, attending our university. Transitioning to this next life stage, it is important to have insider information to jumpstart your success at UT Dallas. In adjusting to a new campus, connecting with all of the resources that UT Dallas offers, and building a strong foundation personally and academically for your undergraduate experience. To help with this new experience, we offer the Transfer Mentor Program, a personalized peer mentoring program that pairs incoming transfer students with academically successful undergraduate students. Your personal mentor will help guide you through your first year at UT Dallas, including the social, academic, and leadership opportunities that lie ahead. You will be paired with your mentor based on your major or professional track. Your mentor will meet you where you are in terms of your goals at UT Dallas, your academic and social interests, and will get you acquainted with UT Dallas using their experience and training to guide your way. Our mentor-mentee pairs meet twice a month live throughout the mentee's first year. It may be for coffee, a Zoom call, a walk from class to class, one of our signature TMP events, or whatever works for your schedule. Over the last 4 years of the Transfer Mentor Program, new students have benefited from their experience with a mentor with higher GPAs, more likely to stay on campus after their first year, and more involved than their peers without a mentor. We provide added opportunities for academic support, community service, and social connection through specialized events for students in the Transfer Mentor Program. It is important to note that a mentor is not a tutor, advisor, or professor. Our mentors are volunteer comets who were in your shoes not too long ago and want to help you navigate the experience with a little help. We serve students from every school at UT Dallas, and outside of being a transfer student, have no restrictions on who can be placed in our program. We encourage you to apply soon. Spots are limited.
I have a really personal connection to the program, and because it was the first thing that welcomed me. I got that email in the summer when I got admitted to UTD, like, hey, you should be in the Transfer Mentor Program. And so the first sense of belonging to the university and the community came from my experiences with the TMP.
Wanted to impact someone's life who is transferring to UTD in a way that would benefit them. Because I know when I transferred here, like, there's so many resources that are available to you as a student that you just don't take advantage of. And I met one of my closest friends through this program who, honestly, even though I'm a senior, she's still my mentor. She still checks up on me.
When I was transferring, I was mainly concerned with what organizations I should join, and what all the opportunities were on campus. I felt like a big fish in a small pond in Holland at UTD. I was kind of like, whoa, there's a ton of people and so much to do, and I was just kind of lost. So being in the Transfer Mentor program really helped me establish myself and understand what steps I should take next on campus.
At UT Dallas.
All right, so that's, again, just a quick overview of our program, the same thing that the students would hear about the Transfer Mentor program and the opportunities it provides, but a little bit more detailed information about who our mentors and mentees are and how we decide who's in the program. So our program is open to all transfer students. So we are not specific to a specific academic track or major, although we do pair based on that kind of information. But for mentors, they go through a vetting process that includes a phone interview. It includes academic and professional references, a program agreement, as well as a general application that asks them questions like, what were their challenges when they were a new transfer student? What did they hope to achieve as a mentor? What kind of leadership experiences are they looking for? And so once a student is accepted into the Transfer Mentor program as a mentor, they do sign up for training sessions as well as monthly meetings and then monthly reports. And Hilary is going to talk a little bit more about those monthly reports and what we're looking for in those and how we continue to use those. For mentees, it's a little even more open. Again, no school, no specific academic track. They complete an online application with similar questions about what they hope to achieve while they're at UT Dallas, as well as kind of their background information for best pairing purposes. They have to be enrolled as a student and obviously a transfer student, and they complete a program agreement as well. For them, what their commitment looks like as far as the program goes is meeting with their mentor, obviously, but also a large group orientation session. So this is really a good opportunity for them to meet us as staff, so make that initial connection with us, and then also meet other new students to UT Dallas, new transfer students through that orientation session. And then they also complete monthly reports, so kind of giving us that check-in on how things are going. So one thing about the Transfer Mentor program, and like it said in the video, I guess like I said in the video, is that our students are volunteers. So we don't pay our mentors. And so that kind of brings up the question, when you have transfer students who have a lot of other obligations, like we've already talked about, why would a student mentor? So these are the things that we talk with our mentors about during the interview process, during the recruitment process, and during the training process about why are we here? Why are we doing this? Why are we serving another Comet? And our mascot are the Comets. So when you hear me refer to Comets, that's what I'm referring to. But that first thing, the philosophy. So a lot of our transfer students came in without a mentor, without any kind of guidance, without somebody to help them through this transition. And so the idea of a lot of our students when they come to mentor, what we hear from them during that interview process is that they really just want to be that person for another student. They don't want a student to have to navigate campus alone. They don't want a student to have to navigate all of these new issues like time management that they're going to be facing. So that opportunity to serve another student in a way that they didn't have themselves. Service. I really believe that UT Dallas is particularly service oriented. Our students tend to step up when they can. And that is something that the Transfer Mentor program offers, is the service and leadership opportunity. In addition, service hours are always a factor for our students. Some of the schools on campus require service hours, and we are able to offer that as a benefit for our students. Tangibles. So we don't have a big budget, but we do have a budget. And so we're able to offer a few tangibles, things like cords for our mentors when they graduate. They receive a nice little graduation cord. We're able to offer food at some of our events. We're also able to offer, so far, a very nice t-shirt, and it's very high quality and very cute. So we're able to offer that. But the important thing about that specific point is that we've asked students every single year if they would continue to mentor if they didn't have those tangibles, if they didn't have those little perks to the gig. And repeatedly they said yes, because it really comes back to that service and that philosophy for them. It's a flexible leadership opportunity. So our mentor and mentee pairs meet on their own schedules. They make them, they meet independently. And so they're able to fit that into a time that works for them. And again, for our transfer students, that is a priority consideration, that they're able to work because they have all those other obligations outside of the classroom. And so the Transfer Mentor program offers them that opportunity to do that. Campus Connections, both Hilary and I are part of several different programs on our campus, but our Office of Undergraduate Education, which is where Hilary and I work, is connected to even more programs. And so whenever we have an opportunity for a student to serve in a capacity like on a panel, in a tabling situation, whatever that might be, to get them more engaged on campus, we're always going to tap the students that we know through things like the Transfer Mentor program. And then finally, the legacy. UT Dallas is still a fairly new institution, but we still find that our students can shape really what our university looks like. And that is something that the transfer students in our programs take very seriously, is that they're shaping what the transfer experience looks like for future transfer students. They're also shaping what the Transfer Mentor program looks like. So we haven't been around all that long. Hilary likes to say that we're a toddler organization. So we're getting there, we're getting our legs under us, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But our transfer mentors are able to shape what the Transfer Mentor program is going to look like, and how we can continue to best support our transfer students at UT Dallas. And so from here, I'm going to pass it over to Hilary to talk a little bit about kind of what the nuts and bolts look like for the Transfer Mentor program.
Thank you, Hilary. Time for the second Hilary to step in and finish us off here. We are certainly, just like you are, most of you probably listening to this, woefully understaffed. We have a tiny little team, and we are able to produce a good amount of programming because of our partnerships on campus. And this slide just shows a little bit about the different groups that we partner with. Sometimes these groups help us by providing customized training content or academic or social support content for the Transfer Mentor program participants. Sometimes we partner in programming with them. And in some cases, we even use our mentors, mentees in the program, or our program staff to help provide customized content and engagement with these groups. You can see assessment and institutional effectiveness is represented there. They really help us by telling the story of this program. And the reality is that quality enhancement plan funding that's allocated to help support the Transfer Mentor program, that is going to go away very soon, like maybe next year. And we are going to need to get creative with how we fund the program, meaning we need to find money. I know that you can all relate. And having this really close partnership with the Office of Assessment is going to help us tell that story. Comet Sense, that's our financial literacy program on campus. We are providing, that group is providing customized content just for transfer students. This was a data-informed decision based on some institutional data that we had that showed that transfer students or re-enrolling returning transfer students wanted to learn more about financial literacy. So we're like, oh, okay, great. Well, let's create some customized financial literacy content for them. So these partnerships are heavily data informed. And that allows us, as little peeks into the data, allow us the ability to kind of reach out and connect with these departments and groups to help us get this done. Another group that helps us get this done is our student leadership team. So we always felt like with both of the peer mentor programs that we're involved in, that it's good to have students who are like ambassadors between us, between program staff, because we're not college students anymore, to the participants in the program, that they could be a real good mouthpiece for on going both directions. And so we have a student leadership team. It's a small group of students, like 5 or 6 within the program, mentors and mentees. They go through a vetting process and an interview process, and they help us float this program for any particular academic year. They help with development of events and marketing events. They help us with social media content. We're heavily dependent on them for that. And then at the end of the year, they do a capstone presentation. The past couple of years during the pandemic, it's been a recorded presentation, but they do a nice capstone experience that is viewed by other professional staff and faculty on campus, and they provide structural feedback to help students kind of assess or get a good bird's eye view of their presentation. So it's really nice professional development experience, leadership development experience for these students throughout the year, and it helps us a lot. I would say that when it comes down to it, having a good student leadership team in any given academic year is what will make the program shine. It's that little perfect missing piece that was no longer missing, but it just really brings it all together. Hilary mentioned a little bit about our data collection. We do it in lots of different ways, so you can see here, and you're familiar with these. I'm sure that in your own programs, you use a lot of these data collection tools. So we've got formal surveys, we have informal surveys, we have novel data that we collect through phone interviews. We do focus groups from time to time. We will talk to them during events. That's another opportunity that we have to sort of collect very anecdotal data. So we've got it coming kind of from all different directions. Some of it's institutional data, and then that Office of Assessment and Institutional Effectiveness, our partnership with them. And here in the Office of Undergraduate Education, we also have some data science people here as well. So those partnerships with those two groups help us really take all of this and tell a good story with it, or tell a bad story, right? No program is perfect. And so it helps us grow and learn and make the program better. So how does this translate into outcomes? Well, here are a few academic outcomes that we have seen consistently and every year that we've run the program, which is why we can sort of drop them in here and speak generally to them. So mentees in the program, and this is compared to their non-mentored peers, so other new transfer students at the institution who did not have a mentor in the program. So mentored students in the program experienced higher GPAs, higher levels of retention, and higher increased academic and social belonging experiences compared to their non-mentored peers. So that's nice to see that the program's making a difference, and we have the numbers to back that up. On the mentor side, what was their experience like? We speak all the time about how really most of our energy is poured into training our mentors and supporting them, but also energy into holding them accountable, communicating with them, because they're the ones doing the mentoring work. And so we want to make sure that on the program staff side that we're giving them all the support and the tools that they need. So how does that look as far as outcomes? Well, 100% of them, and this is this past academic year, AY21, 100% of them reported that their experience was a good campus leadership opportunity. They report that the experience supports and encourages them to pursue other leadership opportunities. They report that it makes them feel like they're a stronger leader on campus. And that big one, which is why we highlight it, a large percent of them, not 100, but pretty good number, 93%, say that this mentoring experience contributes to their legacy at UT Dallas. And this is so important, as you know, because you work with transfer students, and I'm sure that you can relate to experiences like this with your students. When we talk with mentors informally about their experience, we hear often from them that they are grateful. They've used the word grateful. They're thankful that someone came to them and said, you have something of value for this institution. You have a story to tell. You have experiences. You have a perspective that is going to help another student who's coming into this institution. We need you. I remember the very first cohort of the program at the end of the year, talking with a mentor who just said it felt so good for somebody to come to me and tell me that I was needed and that I was valuable here. So that legacy component, there's no way that we can understand just how valuable. I mean, I don't think I can fully understand it, but when I hear these students talk about it, I realize to us it seems like a small thing maybe, but to them it can mean so much more. Here's some of our anecdotal data. You can see some trends here and some sweet pictures of our students. We love them. This makes us so happy to see our students Here at UTD, we are just coming back in person for the spring semester. And so it's nice to be able to see these pictures of our students to remind us that they're actually out there. But anecdotally, they say things like they feel like they're having a positive impact on the university. This is a mentor. Growing as a leader by being a role model. Being part of the program made them feel connected to UTD. So we're picking up on that belonging component. It's not all just, unicorns and roses. We do have challenges, and some of these we've had from the get-go, and we still continue to struggle with some of these challenges. So this kind of gives a good snapshot of what those challenges are. Program attrition and disengagement. So this is mentors and mentees signing on for it, going full throttle in the fall semester, and then starting to drop off a little bit in the spring semester. Sometimes it's not an intentional drop off. I mean, most of the time it's unintentional, but sometimes it's purely because the mentor graduated because we have such a high percentage in the transfer mentor program who graduate because they're transfer students. So you've got more December graduates there, and that's halfway through the academic year. And then the mentee is kind of without their mentor, and we need to find one for them. Just that kind of drop off in the spring, coming back off of the holidays, particularly during the pandemic, and just trying to reconnect and re-engage can be challenging. And like I said, particularly in the pandemic, the spring melt has been difficult. And just the overall short timeline that a transfer student is here at our institution. They are not here very long, and they're trying to pack a whole lot of experience into that short period of time. And I think maybe sometimes halfway through the program, the reality kicks in. It's like, oh, I need to go get a research spot. Or, oh, I've wanted to be a student ambassador, or I wanted to get involved in student government, or I need to get an internship. I can't do this other thing anymore because I also work. And I also have dependents at home who are relying on me. So I'm not going to be able to do all this. Challenge of missed populations. So we have a large percentage of spring admits. It's a full academic year program. And so the spring admits haven't historically been able to find a place to put them. So you have this whole group of incoming spring admits who missed that opportunity to receive mentorship. Growth. And so we have a hard time finding mentors. We've gone flat the past couple of years. We were growing like we grew. We jumped up the first 3 years. And then in the pandemic, we've kind of gone flat. When we talk to mentors in the program, their experience is basically, the trend at least, is that they just have a lot of other obligations. And one thing we appreciate about our transfer students is that they don't sign up for it unless they know for sure 100% they're going to be able to go all the way with it. If they're hesitant, if they feel like there's a chance that they're not going to be able to go 100%, then they're more reticent about making the commitment up front. And then assessment. We have a hard time getting mentees to respond to our surveys. We have to get really creative there. That makes assessment difficult because we rely heavily on those surveys. Additionally, because it's part of our quality enhancement plan, we're reporting out to lots of different constituents. We report to the UT system on this program. SAC-COC, our accrediting agency. So we just have lots of different people who need that formal assessment about the program, and not a lot of people to get that done. So during the pandemic, what did this program look like? Well, it was virtual. And I know that you were all probably in a situation where you needed to run a program virtually. But we noticed some things during the pandemic that are actually good. Some program growth in the good way. Definitely there were challenges, but some good stuff too. We were able to serve more mentees in an academic year than we ever been able to have. We created a sub-program that recognized mentors who go to the next level. We call it TMP Connect, but this is your super mentors, your mentors who show up for everything. They complete everything on time. We never have to chase after them. And they're always asking for more. How can I mentor better? Do you have more opportunities for me? We met with them more consistently during the pandemic, and they showed up for it, which is great. We were like, oh, well, we feel like we need to check in on them more, but knowing they might not show up, but they did. We had more mentee engagement, so we had better response rates on our reports. We said on a previous slide that that was a challenge. Fewer mentees slipped out of the program, so less of that spring melt over the life of the program. And we kicked up our social media engagement. So we started getting active on Discord and on Instagram, doing some Instagram live things, just more activity. And our student leadership team helped us heavily with that and creating that original content. And then depth. We started partnering with more groups on campus, particularly our first gen programming group, because so many of our students in the mentor program are first gen students. So we're doing a really good side-by-side partnership with them in almost every way now, and that's really been good. And providing a new certification program called Leaders of Excellence, where we provide alternative, kind of, not alternative, but supplemental leadership development through presentations and conference attendance. And that's a little something they can do as extra, and then they get a certificate for it. So what do we hear from mentors and mentees during the pandemic, the good and the bad? So at the end of fall 2020, so that was the, halfway through the prior academic year. So we're halfway through that fully virtual version of the program. There were some challenges. Mentors were saying they don't really like the meeting virtually. Getting to know each other in the virtual environment without being able to meet in person was really difficult to do. Communication breakdown or inconsistency, delayed responses, interrupted communication because you're dependent on technology. Mentees reporting a lot of personal challenges and feeling just generally disconnected from the university, even verging into full-on anxiety about finding a place on campus. Trying to balance it all, balance work and extracurricular activities with academic stuff, and then just meeting the academic demands and time management. So this was halfway through the prior academic year. We kept at it though. Another semester of virtual programming went by, and at the end of AY21, we asked mentors and mentees the same types of questions, and we saw a little bit more of a positive trend. Learning about mentors say they evolved their leadership skills, interpersonal skills, and they were more confident. The mentors were feeling more connected to UTD and other networking with other mentors and mentees. And I think the best part about this, so we just loved pulling all this together and then going through it as a group, hearing mentees talk about how in the midst of the pandemic and having to be virtual for their full academic year, that there were several cases where this program was the lifeline. Their connection with their mentor and the support that the program was able to give them was the lifeline. And I know that sounds a little like an exaggeration, but that was the actual word that was used. And we saw this trend with several other responses. This was the only thing that got me through it. Several things along those lines. So, we certainly don't want to think of the program as that way. As the life preserver for a student, but if it was, that's great. That means that we found a way to do this, and the mentors were able to go in and do that hard work for the mentees. Well, they themselves were also going through the challenges of, being a student virtually. So how are things going so far? Going to kind of take us home here. So we decided in response to that challenge of accommodating spring admits, for spring 2022, we are launching a little spring cohort for spring admits. So we added 7 new mentors to the program and 21 mentees. All 21 of these mentees are spring admits, and we spread them around the new mentors as well as some of our existing mentors who volunteered to take on a second mentee. It's a one-to-one program for the most part, but sometimes 1 to 2. We are doing a hybrid version of the program, so virtual and in-person opportunities. What we're finding is that with the transfer program, they like the virtual trainings, but they don't really like the virtual events. They would prefer to show up for an actual in-person event. So we're doing a little bit of both. We're using data more and more to actually train our mentors and to help guide their mentoring, specifically in topics like making healthy connections, transitions, time management for transfers, allowing them that kind of behind the curtain peek at the data that we have on our program participants, but transfer students at UT Dallas in general, and just saying, hey, come be part of this team. This is how we run this program. And this could be a way that you might, it might help you with your mentoring as well. Talked about the customized content, created customized content for the participants on financial literacy, and undergraduate research, and building faculty relationships. That's another one that we learned from our returning transfer student data. They craved more information or guidance on how to build relationships with faculty. So we've helped kind of go in, use data to kind of highlight where the holes are, and then use the program to go in and fill in those holes. We got a little bit of corporate partnership now as well. State Farm's headquartered here in Richardson, just down the road from us, and they're always looking at ways they can help with the university. And someone over there said they wanted to work with transfer students, and so our development office hooked them up with us, and here we go. So that's good. We're going to keep working on that. We also have the challenge of transfer student unenrollment. So we had a huge group of transfer students who did not re-enroll for the spring semester. We had a large group of FTICs as well, but the transfer student attrition was pretty sobering. And when you look at the data, the reason was primarily financial. That was like the number one reason. And that when you peel the data back even more, students would say in these surveys that it came down to sometimes like $1,000 was the deal breaker for them. So rough stuff, and not problems necessarily that the program can solve, but good information to help us guide in decision making for the program. So that's where we are right now. Ups and downs. I know that all of you can relate to the ups and downs. And we really appreciate you taking some time to hear us tell the story of this program. This all goes back to recognizing that this student population had very unique needs from our FTICs, and we had catered primarily to our FTICs up till that point. And when we realized that the trends were there and they needed specialized support, that's where that's why we hatched this program. That's when we gave birth to it. And seeing that connection between the students and the university grow within the context of the program is kind of the fuel for us. It's what keeps us going, even in the downtimes, even when we've got those unsettling trends that we see in the program. All it takes is one student to just say, thank you for coming to me and asking me to help. Thank you for telling me that I was valuable and I had a story to tell. So on that note, thanks for letting us tell this story, and enjoy the rest of your conference. Thank you.